Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things that you love with those that you love to do them with. Bugsy Malone's over there, and she's looking for a ball that's just over here. So hopefully we get a bit of peace and quiet. Guys, do me a favour, smash the like button for me, smash the subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on today's video. This one's probably going to be a bit spicier. I don't really know what to say, okay, because I went to bed last night, and for what it's worth, apologies for anyone who's listening to that podcast maybe with their kids in the car this morning or something. I often get messages about that. I did put a kind of profanity warning in the opening minutes. You know, it was an angry show from me. I'm just a little bit sick and tired of what we're seeing at the moment and the ability to confuse and obfuscate the rationales as to why people, I think, are upset. You know, Ange is a master of words, right? He really is. And when you listen to him after a game, put aside the kind of sooky nature sometimes of his post-loss, I won't call them tantrums, but post-loss just demeanour on interviews that is so starkly 180 to when we win. He's very good with being able to say two things at once, almost sort of talk out of both sides of his mouth with regards, you know, I don't want to make excuses, but here's 25 reasons why this isn't my fault. Or, you know, look, if you want to go after me, I don't care. But clearly he does care because he gets so snappy with journalists who criticise him, right? It's kind of like someone who's, you know, who screws up at work, and then when the boss is kind of going, you know, like, you screwed up here, you know, you need to do better. And every time they say the words that the manager wants to hear, but then nothing really changes. So, yeah, yes, boss, you know, I dropped the ball, you know, like, look, you could point in that direction and say, well, this person didn't do that, this person didn't do that, and really I'm the recipient of all of this, you know, ineptitude over here. But I'm not going to do that. You know, I'll take it on the chin. You know, I will do better. If that's how you feel, I'll do better. And the same thing happens over and over again. Talk is cheap, and action is far harder. Bugsy! Talk is not cheap with her. It's expensive. It puts you lot off the video. Some of you are only here because of Bugsy. Anyway. Yeah, and I just feel like last night was another kind of rationale, another demonstration of that, right? Like, you know, don't go after the players. These players are putting in everything, you know, and go after me if you have to. But these players, I won't have it. And there's merit to what he says, by the way. There is merit to what he says. Shush, you come and get the ball over here. There's merit to what he says with regards the effort the players are putting in. Like, you could look at a player like Decky and you're not really going to criticise him, even though I think you should be able to criticise his performances when he underperforms. But you're fearful of doing so because of how good he's been relative to everybody else this season. And so if you're going after him, a lot of people would say, well, why are you going after him and not going after X, Y, and Z? And so, like, it's difficult to be able to kind of, you know, to be able to sort of challenge the environment in which you've just witnessed and focus on the specifics of the isolated incident without getting some pushback from some direction. Somewhere someone will tell you that, you know, you're missing the wood for the trees, or you're trying to extinguish a bonfire with a tea towel kind of thing. And I get it, right? I totally get it, because there's so many things wrong at the moment, and so you're never going to be able to say everything in the same video unless your video lasts 24 hours, where you can cover off all of the issues. However, back to Ange, sorry, I'm a bit of a ramble there. Back to Ange, I feel like, you know, there's merit to what he says in that, you know, 11 players out, what would Liverpool do? How did Liverpool get on today? 9 players swapped, and that's just one game. We've been doing this for 10 weeks. There's merit to that notion, but here's where I think the difference is. And for what it's worth, this notion that the only reason Plymouth beat Liverpool was because they took 9 players out, I just don't subscribe to that. If that was the case, if that was the great leveller, then why did Arne Slot do it, right? You don't need to rotate 9 players. Plymouth upped their game. They are a team, for what it's worth, in the Championship who have conceded more goals than any other team in the top 4 divisions of Premiership football, right? That's what there was the stat that was thrown around on BBC or ITV yesterday. And sorry, of any 4 divisions of any team in any of the leagues. Sorry, what I was trying to say. The reality is that Arne Slot believed that even with those transitions, that they're a better team, and I would subscribe to the notion that 95 times out of 100, that game played in other circumstances would result in a Liverpool victory. Right? Arne Slot is a fantastic manager. He's not going to make the nine changes if he thinks that it's, going to create this imbalance where Plymouth were more likely to win. Like that's just a nonsense notion. But I do understand what the point he's trying to make. He's just utilising, I think, a poor example of saying that there's an impact to having all these injuries. And so I don't have a problem with that. I've empathised with that and sympathised with that, and that's one of the reasons why I've been, on the fence with Ange for so long. And I'm not even going to get myself into the conversation of who are the responsible forces of those injuries, right? There's people that believe it's the training. And Ange says, well, it can't be the training because we're still getting the injuries, but we're barely training anymore. And that's what I said on yesterday's video. Well, if that's the case, then why are we pivoting to a low block when you haven't had any time to train for it? And that's one of the reasons why the players look like they're timid and shy and hiding. Those things can be symptoms of confusion. And to me, not knowing who's supposed to sit and the structure of the strategy. I'll see if I can show some of the pictures that I've seen on Twitter with people taking snapshots of that first half an hour against Aston Villa yesterday, when there were four players that were all within a yard of one of the midfielders of Aston Villa just charging through. It looks like none of them know what their individual instructions are. And maybe that is a symptom of not being on the training ground enough. But it's also, I think, just a symptom of, as I've been saying for 18 months, an abdication of responsibility from the manager who says, even under plan A of the vision, he says, over to you for the specifics. Stick to the framework, but over to you to figure it out. And I've been saying this for the entire time of his tenure, that hands over a hell of a lot of responsibility to players who have a hard enough time figuring out their own specific role within this system that's very unique in plan A, right? But you also have to be wondering, well, is any of the people around me going to step up and think unorthodox thoughts with regards to what they can do, because they do have that sort of poetic license to be able to invoke abnormal or asynced footballing behaviour, if that even makes sense. Basically, I've got to think, should it be me that creates something out of nothing? Should it be me that steps up as a defender? When Romero was going up, if you remember months and months and months ago, Romero was going up to be a false nine, Like, was that by design, or was that Romero just going, well, I've got the licence to do whatever I want here, and I'm a vice captain of the team, so I fancy I'm going to do this. And if you have to be thinking all the time whether it's you that should be doing something unorthodox, and you also have to factor in whether someone else next to you might be doing something unorthodox, and then how do you and everyone else cater to that, you can end up, like I say, with moments where everybody is on the same wavelength. It can look phenomenal. It can. When everyone's just clicking and the confidence is there, everything can just look unplayable and insanely sophisticated and clever. But when it's not clicking, when confidence is low, when confusion ekes in, when you're suddenly playing a plan B, and you've still got those thoughts, you've still got those, oh my God, is someone going to be doing something that they're not supposed to be doing here? Think back to when Matisse Tell came on the game in the Liverpool game, and he charges up within 30 seconds to do the high press, and Sonny and Decky didn't join him. And he's turning around going, come on, press. And they're saying no. Were they saying no because that was their instruction pre-game? Or were they saying no because they're exhausted? And this leads me back to the point, right? If you are exhausted and Ange is correct and has merit to his argument that, what am I supposed to do? These players are absolutely shattered. They're doing everything. Don't chastise the players. I'll take the bullet for them. I'll die on the sword. You leave them alone. They're warriors out there, which is fine. It's a fine argument. You still have options within your tactical armoury. Not very many, Ange. You still have some of which you are responsible. And taking off Mikey Moore at half-time when Decky was on his worst shift since Liverpool, and both of those were the worst shifts I've seen from Decky this season, primarily maybe because he is exhausted. Why are you taking him off? Or not, sorry, why aren't you taking him off? Or Sonny, who, let's be honest, I'm sorry for the South Koreans and I'm sorry for the Sonny loyalists who are harking back to a halcyon days of him and Kane where he was incredible. And of course, I'm not in any way hating on Sonny. I'm just calling it for what it is. The geezer is absolutely bereft of any form, any confidence, any stamina, any will, any desire, any leadership. He shouldn't be on the pitch because of what he was doing 3 years ago and before, or because he's captain. Like, Micky Moore was the best outfield player in a Tottenham shirt in the first half, in my opinion. He was the only one with any spirit, only one with any intrigue and desire and skill set, and he looked fresh because he hasn't played that many minutes. So why take him off for Bissouma? And the argument that you should have brought a number 6 on, well, the argument starts there with why didn't you demand the number 6? Because you believe your system doesn't require a 6 because you asked the fullbacks to play 6, right? You asked the fullbacks to come in and do the double pivot, which almost makes like a, you know, an inversion triple pivot if you have it the way that it can look at times. That's fine if you intended to only stick to plan A and that plan A was working and hadn't been found out. But the notion that you don't play with a 6 because the fullbacks are supposed to do it, when you ask your fullbacks to stick back wide again and overlap and play traditional non-inversions, then you need a 6. And we haven't got a 6. Not one that's ready-made. I mean, we do have a 6. We spent £40 million on an 18-year-old that's supposed to be a number 6, and we haven't played him as a 6. We played him everywhere else, apart from a 6. And like I said last night, right, this notion, and I think a load of Tottenham fans got caught up in it for what it's worth. A load of Tottenham fans that I really respect the opinions of got caught up in the notion because of 45 minutes that was abject against Everton, that a back 3 was tested and failed and therefore will shelve it. And I believe that that is madness. If you have been practicing for an inverted 4-4 or 4-3-3, and because of the wave of public pressure and because of the injuries being what they were, you decide to go to a back 3 and you choose to use it for the first time without any training against Everton, who is probably the only away team that you'd go to where a back 3 is unnecessary, no matter who you are, because of the way that they play, and it doesn't work, that doesn't mean that the experiment failed. Or it doesn't mean that the idea of a back 3 doesn't work. It means that you need, I don't know, a bigger sample size than 45 bloody minutes. But he came out and said, we tried it, it didn't work. It's almost like he wanted to kind of tell everyone, see? Now, will everyone just let me get on with what I want to do, please? Like, that back 3 model, it suits. And everybody that was on board it suddenly jumped on and went, yeah, you know what, it didn't work. Let's forget about that. Let's move back to just what we were doing before. Sorry, to me, with a fully fit squad or otherwise, even the squad we have now, you could put that back 3 in Ben Davies, Archie Gray and Danso, who, by the way, Kevin Danso, he looks, I don't know, something about him that, like, I don't think he's had a bad start at all. I'm not in any way throwing him under the bus here. I'm just you know, analysing in isolation what I've seen thus far. Absolutely too early, too small a sample size. But what I have seen, I think he's got moments of good, but I think he might have that kind of, I don't know, that kind of heavy feet vibe. Let me know your thoughts on that one. You know, that's as far as I'm going to say, because I think people will go, oh my God, you're just telling everybody you can't write off a situation after 45 minutes, but now you're writing off Kevin Danso. I'm absolutely not. I'm just saying that what I've seen so far, I actually think he's done okay. And he looks strong and good in the air, but there's something about his feet, he looks like his feet can get stuck a little bit, heavy-footed. Anyway, we'll figure that out in time. But this notion that you chalk off the back 3 vibe, I think it would fit, it would work, right? You give Archie Gray the licence to get back and be structured and move out and break out and be the centre-back that can put, like, pull forward into a 6, the sort of thing we were talking about, maybe the propensity for Romero to do not that long ago. To write something off that hasn't worked because you haven't tested it and you've used it once under duress in a weird environment that didn't really like deserve to be tested in that situation anyway, is almost like, I don't know. It's where like it's like oil and water to me. That notion of a 45-minute sample size and then you go, see, I told you, it's nonsense. But like I say, so much of Ange's decision making, he does have options and he's not using them or he's not picking the right ones. You know, he put the rocket up them at half time. They got back on the pitch, and for the first 15 minutes of the second half, it was a more level of playing field, right? It was a more even game. But why can't you do that in the first half? Why are we, after what happened on Thursday? You expected Tottenham to come out of the traps firing, and the first 30 minutes it was just embarrassing. It was embarrassing to the point. Well, like I say, I don't hold this all on the play on Ange. The players need to. The players need to also step up, stand up, and be counted. Rodrigo Bentancur, a player that most Tottenham fans have always enjoyed watching, have always appreciated. We sing songs about him. He's missed half of the season for various reasons. Had horrendous injuries. Got suspended. There's no, obviously, consistent ability there, but you can't argue that he'll be tired and shattered. So where is his desire? Where's his willpower? Because the last 2 games, you know, if you're looking for leaders, you're looking for experience, you're looking for steady heads. People like Lucas Berghvall, who I absolutely love the prospect of, he is so raw and so feisty that I think we will finish many, many games with 10 men if he doesn't calm down. But he's just turned 19. He's got more fight and desire than anybody else in that midfield. But what he doesn't have is experience. He doesn't have the ability to keep a cool head in certain scenarios. And so you're looking for someone, somewhere in that team to turn around to him and give him a little tap on the shoulder and say, come on, think about this. You know, the last thing we need now. And obviously you go, well, who are the people? Well, you can't really look towards Bissouma to do that because this guy is a senior in the squad, but he's probably the biggest airhead of them all. So you go, okay, well, where else is you going to look? Well, Bentancur, right? He's been in World Cups, I believe. Pretty sure he has. He's played for Juve. He is Champions League experience, Europa League experience. He's been around the block. He's not young. He's healthy. He's not exactly exhausted. And yeah, there's no excuse for him to not be sitting there figuring out his own game, but also telling the likes of Berghvall, calm down, buddy. The last thing we need right now is for you to get a yellow card early. And for what it's worth, he was lucky to not be booked after about 10 minutes last night, Berghvall. When he finally got the yellow card, if I was a Aston Villa fan and Tottenham were 1-0 up, for example, and Lucas Berghvall was getting away with the amount of fouls that he was by that referee, I'd be apoplectic. I didn't mind so much because it was on our side, but little warning shot there. I think Berghvall's got so much potential, but he needs to calm down. But this, like I say, at the moment, guys, this has been a bit of an op-ed, isn't it? It's just me having a little moan at you, not a moan at the situation. No real kind of vibe to this one, so I might even not even put it up. We'll find out. If you're watching this, I did. But I just find that, you know, Ange is making correct calls around the difficult situation in which he finds himself. But what he's not doing is making the correct decisions within the opportunities and the options that he does have. You know, he might have a relatively small number of bullets to fire, but the bullets that he is firing, you know, are the wrong size for the gun. And I just think that it's one thing to park the accountability argument away from the players. First of all, the players do need to step up and be counted. Some of them are not exhausted. But even if the majority of that argument is true and fair and valid, then Ange needs to make better decisions with regards who he takes off at half-time, who he's playing where. Why was Ben Davies not on the pitch? Why Ben Davies cannot be as shattered as other players that seem to play every game, right? Why is Pedro Porro still playing? He's played more minutes than anybody else. when you could have Jed Spence over there. You could play Serge Regular on the left. You could play Ben Davies and move Archie Gray into the 6. You didn't have to take off Micky Moore. All of those decisions are not decisions that are forced because of the circumstances that we find ourselves in. They are decisions made by a manager who likes to say one thing and then do another. There's a lot of double speak in so much of what Ange says, and that is a common theme in life with salesmen who talk a good game, but when the rubber meets the road, there's very little substance. A lot of sizzle, very little steak. And to me, I'm sorry, as much as I empathise with the situation, and it could have been different for him had he managed to keep a fuller, fitter squad for longer, I think right now, there are no asterisks in life, there are only scoreboards, and the scoreboards look horrendous. What is it, 22 defeats in 46 games since the 10 winning game start, or the 9 winning game start? I really think it's time to go. I really do. It's a shame. I don't really know where we go from here. I always say to people that are on the other train of, you know, leave it out, whatever, show me a solution. My solution would probably be a 2-year contract to someone that is youth-centric. If you can have a conversation with Poch and get him ready and prepared, if Daniel Levy and Poch can kiss and make up and they can park the past in the past, I'd like to see Poch back. I think he has unfinished business. I think he loves Tottenham. I think he's a very good manager. I think he was unfortunate to get sacked by Chelsea, and I'd like to see him back in the hot seat at Tottenham. I really would. I think it's very near impossible to get him out of the United States job before the World Cup. And so if there's a way that you could do that, I'd be up for it. Sorry, American fans, I'm sure you don't want to hear me say that. But if not, then you need a project with someone who's youth-centric, maybe like an Ian McKenna, someone like him, that can continue the model of football to a degree, with a little bit more pragmatism, a little bit more variety, a little bit more options, but someone who knows how to get the best out of youth, because I want to go full steam into youth revolution. I want to continue this this notion of going after the best young talents. I understand and agree with Paratici and Daniel Levy that that was the right model and the method. These things take a long time to materialise. We're starting to see the benefits and the fruits of that labour now. But I need to see someone in the hot seat who appreciates those youth and would be playing them regardless of the injury scenario, and not only playing them because of the injury scenario. I don't think that Ange is the right guy for youth. And like I say, you give someone a 2-year contract, it will probably end up being a struggle. But if there is a plan of action to get Poch back, obviously to the guy that comes in on a 2-year contract, you don't say that. You say it's 2 years with an option, depending on how you do. And if the guy ends up being an absolute brilliant, you know, Poch Mark II, then so be it. With regards to the likes of Silva and Iriola, I just don't think that they would leave where they're at now to come to Tottenham unless you were to pay them big money. And I don't think either of them are worth big money. Drew always points out about Iriola's shocking resume before Bournemouth. It's a flash in the pan. We don't know if that is true or not, but I just don't necessarily get on board the fact that he is the solution. And if he could be, he could be. I like him, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of risk, a lot of money, and a lot of difficult pitches to figure out a way to sell that one. But yeah, Poch for me. Don't know how we make up the time in the next 18 months, but that's kind of where I'm at. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Sorry, it's been a long one. I'll leave it there. I'm going to try and get my videos back down to 16 minutes. I don't know why they're always 24 minutes now. It's probably too much of a burden for you to listen to it all. But if you are watching, then make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe. And I'll see you again. Like, subscribe, and comment, as always. Bye-bye.